This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
I'm Georgia, and welcome to Finding Hope, the podcast to get your day started right. This podcast swaps out the depressing daily news headlines for feel-good stories that won't necessarily make the front page. Each episode, we will meet someone who has a story of hope and perseverance to share, which will hopefully inspire you to look for the good in your own life. Episode 3, Chris Norton. For 18-year-old Chris Norton, life couldn't get much better. He'd moved away from home for the first time, started studying business at college, and loved hanging out with his friends. Chris was a talented American football player. He loved the game, the competition, and pushing his body to the limit. And he was a promising young star in his college team. Then, one ordinary day, a split-second decision caused an injury that would change Chris's life forever. What happens when all you've ever known and wished for falls out from under you? Can a single moment really have the power to change everything? And if it does, is it even possible to start again? Let's find out. Chris, thank you so much for coming on Finding Hope. I'm really pleased to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here.
Let's go back to 10 years ago. You're an 18-year-old college student. Tell me about life before your injury.
Before my injury, I was really focused on sports. I love competition, competing. It didn't matter what it was. It could be rock, paper, scissors, or a card game, board game, whatever it is. I love to compete and win. And, football was important to me, American football. And so that was something that drew me in to go to Luther College because they wanted me to play there. Just like any other 18-year-old, interested in girls, interested in having, a good fun at college experience and just kind of learn about yourself and in life.
Do you remember what you kind of wanted out of life as an 18-year-old?
Yeah, as an 18-year-old, I really wanted to be this all-American football player, which is one of the highest honors you can get. I wanted to get a business degree, meet the girl of my dreams, and then hopefully make enough money to someday own like a lake house, or better yet, the girl of my dreams family already owns a lake house.
I may have laughed at that in the moment, but I should say straight up that I think having a lake house in your future plans definitively is just good sense.
As the old saying goes, life happens to you while you're off making other plans. And so, but that was kind of my vision, big aspirations as an 18-year-old.
Chris had so much life ahead, including spending some of it, hopefully, in an illustrious lake house. But one day, one moment, changed everything for Chris. It started like any other day, preparing for a football game, a matchup against a rival school.
This was the 6th game of the season. It was about 6 weeks into school then. So pretty fresh, pretty new. I remember rolling out of bed. I think I slept through my alarm a little bit. So I had to kind of rush through the morning and hurry down to the sports complex. You get your little baggie of food. They try to give you a bunch of food before you play. I mean, nothing too much, but just enough to kind of, you don't want to be hungry playing a game. But kind of getting mentally prepared, really, is what I remember from that day, of just trying to focus in on what I'm supposed to be doing, kind of my role. As a freshman, I'm like the low man on the totem pole for the team. So you really want to make sure you're on top of your stuff and you showcase what you're capable of. We're playing one of our rivals and just really wanted to get a win for the team. It was about the third quarter when everything changed for me.
The third quarter. In sports, also known as the championship quarter. Matches are said to be won or lost here. But this particular third quarter, Chris got a lot more and lost a lot more than he bargained for.
It was during the kickoff. So the kickoff is basically our team is kicking the ball to the other team so that they can have it and they can run with the ball. So you have to tackle them, you have to take them down. And my job was to tackle whoever caught it. And so we kicked it off. I'm running downfield as fast as I can go. And, I kind of see an opening forming where my instincts are telling me, that ball carrier, he's going to try running through that gap, and I got to stop him. I'm going to drive my shoulder through his legs, and hopefully he'll drop the ball. That's always a great goal, but you want to take him to the ground. And so I saw my opening, and I go for it, and I hit him at full speed, full force, and he was a big guy. And so I went low. So I'm trying to tackle his knees, his legs, because he's got like 50 pounds on me. And the bigger they are, the lower I got to go. And so I just dove for his legs, but I mistimed my tackle by a split second because instead of hitting him with my shoulder, my head collided with his leg, which caused a fracture in my spine, and I damaged my spinal cord. And so I'm just laying there, face down motionless. I'm hearing, the play continue, and tackles and players crashing into each other, and the whistle blows to stop the play, but I can't get up. While everybody else clears off the field to start the next play, I'm not moving at all, and I'm trying because I'm completely conscious. I was confused, like why am I not moving? Why can't I not push off the ground? I'm trying. I know how to push off the ground, but it's not working. It felt like someone just flipped the power off to my body, and I just had no control over anything. And so I thought a trainer runs out, and he's asking me a bunch of questions like, Chris, are you with me? Can you hear me? I said, yeah, I'm completely conscious. I feel fine, but I just can't move. So I'm just thinking maybe just give it a couple more minutes and my movement will come back, my feeling will come back, but nothing was happening like that. And they get more people involved. And yeah, little did I know, I had a spinal cord injury in my head. And I thought everything was just going to be okay, and it wasn't.
Imagine the pure fear for a second. Chris, barely 18, fit and healthy, but completely unable to move. And at that point, he just had no idea why. He was soon joined by paramedics who airlifted him to hospital, where the trials really began.
They were getting me ready for surgery that night. So they got an X-ray, MRI machine. They had to actually re-break my neck back into place. So it was so badly broken and dislocated that they had to pop it back into place. And I had to be awake for that, which was one of the more difficult moments that I had to experience.
But even through all of that, hard as it was, Chris knew that he wasn't alone.
I'll never forget too, on the MRI machine, if you ever had an MRI, there's like a loud, banging noise. Like the monitors and machines just caused a lot of loud noises. I was in a neck brace, so it was really uncomfortable. It was kind of pinching and almost like biting the back of my head. I'm worried. I'm just wondering, what's my life going to turn out? And I actually remember praying, just, God, can you please just give me a break? Can I please just sleep through this next hour of just laying in this machine? And you have to lay completely still for an MRI machine, which was really easy for me at the time because I had no movement below the neck. But I was just praying to God, just kind of let me escape. Let me just sleep, which I thought it would be impossible given the circumstance. Next thing I know, I was being lowered out of the machine, which was a really powerful moment to know that, for me as a person of faith, that, okay, I'm not alone. It's going to be okay. You just got to hang on to that hope.
Just hang on to that hope. It was a mantra that would guide Chris through every next step, every next hard thing he had to endure.
They put me down for surgery, which that's when I asked the doctor, will I walk again? And he kind of looked defeated and looked at the ground and just said, I don't know. That was when I remember just pouring out tears, just crying, because all I wanted was to walk and get back to my life. I thought I was, living a dream, and I wanted to get back to that.
So you had the surgery and you pretty much started rehab straight away and surprised doctors with your progress essentially from the get-go, right?
I did. I just had this attitude that, you know what, I don't know what I'll get back for recovery, but I sure know it's in my hands. Like, I'm going to do as much as I can. At the end of this, like a year or a couple of years from that moment, I knew, like, I don't want to look back and feel regrets for not doing my best or doing everything in my power to get back as much movement as possible. And so I took on this, what I call radical responsibility of just knowing that my outcome, my success, my happiness is up to me. I got to fight for it.
Pause right there. I want to reflect on that term for a moment. Radical responsibility. I remember hearing that and being absolutely mind blown in the interview. Here was a person in front of me who had every reason to feel like he was a victim of sheer bad luck, but he refused to be defeated. How often have we felt victims of our own circumstance? Chris is a reminder that although we may not have control over our situations, we have control over how we react to them. And that is a powerful thing.
I don't want to be part of that 97%. I'm going to do whatever it takes, kind of be the part of the 3% that do recover from this. Because I was told from the surgeon that I had a 3% chance to ever regain any feeling or movement below the neck.
3%. They weren't great odds, but they were better than nothing. And that was enough for Chris.
And that 3% chance, that's not to walk. That's to move or to feel. That's to scratch an itch on your face, to feed yourself. It's so much more than walking. But I believed in that 3%. And I knew I was going to work harder than anyone they've ever met. And that first day, I did the only thing I could do, which was to nod my head yes and no. And I nodded my head yes and no for hours. I looked like a giant bobblehead, just bouncing my head all around. And I was just bound and determined that I got to get better. I didn't have a choice. I felt like in the matter of what I did for my free time, it was to get better. And I slowly progressed. But don't get me wrong, there were so many dark nights where I would just cry myself to sleep. I'm wondering about my future. Is my future ruined? Like, is my life over? Will a girl ever want to be with me? Will I ever be a dad and have a family? Could I ever possibly be happy like this? Because I felt like all the fun things that I did in the past involved physical activity, like physical movement. So how could I ever live a good life? And so those questions just haunted me at night. So I could not wait every single morning when the sun rose so I can get going to work, because that was kind of what helped me, was to celebrate the progress, celebrate any kind of small gain, victory that I could have. And I also had to focus on not comparing myself to the past of what I used to be, because that also would just destroy my spirit of thinking about how far I had to go to get back to my prime. But I always try to compare myself to where I was right after surgery of, no movement below the neck. So that's what I always try to gauge my progression off of.
After months of vigorous rehab and breakthrough after breakthrough, Chris eventually progressed so much that he was able to return to school. It wasn't without its challenges, but his friends made his life a whole lot easier.
They took care of me. They, would fill my water up. They would help me get into bed. They'd help me change my clothes, or they'd even sleep with me at at night because I had no way to adjust my arms, legs, or blankets when my body would have these spasms. So they took on a huge role, which I had to learn too, like how to best treat people and communicate with people. Because at first I had this bitterness a little bit of, you know what, I want to do this like on my own. Like, I don't want somebody to put a sweatshirt on me. I don't want somebody to have to push me to the cafeteria or help me get my food. But I really don't have a choice in that. Like, I have to ask somebody to help me. So I used to just ask like, hey, take me to the cab. Or, hey, I need to do this. And I started to realize, that's not how you should treat and talk to people who are doing a lot for you. They're going out of their way to help me out. And they really don't have to. I had to change my mindset into more gratitude, more appreciation. I let go of that bitterness and understood that, this is how it is. Like I have to ask for help. But when I ask for help, I'm going to make sure that they know it means a lot to me. So I started just, saying please and thank you, and just making sure I acknowledge the people around me. And I found that the more I acknowledge and appreciate the people who are helping me, the better help you'll get. And that goes for anybody. Making sure you acknowledge and appreciate all the people in your life, because it goes a long way.
And so Chris settled back into his new normal. School, eat, friends, repeat. Little did he know his life was about to change dramatically yet again, but for very different reasons. Meet Emily.
My life definitely changed meeting her. I met her online, and she's just a beautiful spitfire of a woman. She just is a go-getter, and she's a really hard worker, and she really was motivated to help me walk across the stage of my college graduation, which was my big goal and dream.
Pause again. Maybe Chris's future plans had been skewed a little bit. So he wasn't going to be an all-American athlete, but he was going to graduate. So he created a new goal: walk the length of the graduation stage to receive his diploma. It was a lofty one. In theory, that goal was unreachable. But Chris dared to dream anyway. And now, he'd found a girl who was willing to make that dream happen for him. Chris, even if Emily doesn't have a lake house, I wouldn't be letting her go anytime soon.
She took on this goal as her own. So I'll never forget her just taking extra time to walk with me. She's always pushed me to take one more step, do one more walk. But she really kind of filled in a gap in my heart of wondering, will I meet a special girl that I would want to marry? Then Emily came along, and I knew this girl I want to marry. She's the one. She's a keeper. She's had such a big heart. She wants to help other people in difficult situations, especially kids and the foster care system. So she really brought that on my heart, but she's special, and she just really made me into a better man and person.
That goal of walking across the graduation stage, that involved a great deal of sacrifice from both of you and a lot of work. Can you kind of talk me through, I guess, a typical day in training for this? I'm going to call it training because, you did work so much.
Yeah, we made a lot of sacrifices. We relocated to a place that's about 12 hours away from our home in college to live there specifically, to train, to get ready for this graduation walk and to possibly walk on my own. So we would get up in the morning and get ready and head straight to the gym. And I would spend sometimes 3-4 hours a day there, then come back, maybe rest for a little bit, but then do some more training. She would set me up with like a therapeutic bike, or we would do a stand or a walk. And then before bed, we would do some walking and standing and exercises. It was a it was full days of workouts, and she was there the entire time, all day long, which at times, made me really feel guilty, knowing, she could be doing a lot of different things. She's got a lot of talent and passion, but she wanted to spend that time on me, which really meant a lot to me, and the sacrifices that she gave to just make sure that I could get my training, and she really pushed me.
And so, after a cross-country move and months of training, the big day loomed near. Nerves were rife, but Chris's stomach had butterflies for a different reason.
The day before the graduation walk, I set up a surprise proposal for Emily. I got her family, my family, to come into town. We set up rose petals, music, a photographer, videographer. I had all these elaborate plans to surprise her with. She did not see it coming. She thought we were going to a restaurant to pick up a wedding gift, but little did she know, in the banquet room in the back was this setup with, photos of us and the rose petals, the music, and I took out the ring. And thankfully, she said yes. Otherwise, the next day would have been really awkward. So it worked out very well, but it was a really special day. I was more nervous for the proposal than the walk in front of thousands of people, that's for sure.
Of course. As you should be, Chris. So he and Emily, newly engaged, lined up the next day for graduation, ready for perhaps the biggest moment, or maybe second biggest after the proposal, of his life so far.
I'm thinking, graduations are long. It takes a long time to get through all the students to go across the stage. I'm thinking the parents and the students are going to be angry that I'm taking so long to walk across the stage. And I'm also worried too, what if my body doesn't work? What if I can't take the steps, or I get stuck, or I fall? And I've just been spending so many hours, thousands of hours, all into this one moment. What if it doesn't work out? So those what ifs were pretty hard to try to push out of my mind. But we get up there, she stands me up, and the crowd erupts. There was so much excitement and energy, and it caught me off guard. And that's when I knew, okay, it's going to be okay. They're supporting us. They're not booing us off the stage. And then I just locked in on focusing on taking one step at a time, because it takes a lot of concentration just to take one step for me, and a lot of effort. But you couldn't help but notice the energy in the room, the clapping, the cheering. And then when I get there and I look up to receive my diploma, I could not believe everybody's eyes were wet. People all over were crying. The people that we got the diploma from, they were crying. I get down off the stage, my family and friends and complete strangers were all crying. What happened? Did I miss something? I'm trying to figure out why people are crying. I realized it was us walking.
That moment would live on forever, and not just in Chris's mind.
Then that video, it went viral. Over 300 million people watched that video alone on Facebook. We got to go on some of the largest talk shows, and it really made an impact on a lot of people, and it really gave me even more purpose and passion for my life to know that my example and how I respond, how I responded for my injury and how I move going forward can really make a difference on people.
In fact, Chris inspired people so much that he decided to do one more walk, to walk his wife down the aisle at their wedding. I'll give you a spoiler alert. He managed that one as well. And you can experience it firsthand on the Netflix movie, 7 Yards. Get the tissues ready.
And you can do a little bit more, a little extra on everything that you do, what you're supposed to do. That's when you can make the most significant impact and the biggest difference. I want to be able to walk Emily down the aisle of our wedding, and we're going to go 7 yards. And I want to walk with her side by side. I'm looking forward to the challenge. And
as if Chris and Emily aren't already enough of a power couple, add the 6 children that they've adopted into the mix. Yes, that's right, 6.
First, we adopted an adult, Whitley. She was 19 years old at the time. We fostered her for a couple of years. And then we adopted a sibling group of 4 sisters. They were, at the time, they were 9, 8, 5, 3, and that's the 4. So that we just kept adding more kids right after the wedding. We were fostering beforehand. And then just recently we adopted a little 2-year-old boy named Keandre.
I'm so happy for you guys. How was it being such young parents to an adult, essentially? How was that dynamic like?
It's definitely an interesting dynamic. People are very thrown off and confused when she'll refer to us as mom or dad, because she's only 6 and 7 years younger than us. So when we first fostered her, I was worried about the age difference, but she has a lot of respect for Emily because she's known Emily growing up. So they had some history before. So she's always looked at Emily not really as a peer or anything, but really as kind of a mother figure. So when she came to live with us, she quickly saw me as, kind of the father figure and Emily as the mother figure. So it worked out actually surprisingly well, given their history. But then also when you go out in public, when she refers to us as mom and dad, that definitely turns a lot of heads, where people are really confused, trying to add up, wait, how could they be the parents? Like biologically, they're trying to figure it out. It's very confusing.
Chris, it has been a true pleasure having you on this podcast. One last question I ask everyone right at the end. How has your life changed? How are you different now?
Well, I've come to realize that happiness is not measured in steps. There's people who can run, jump, and swim who are unhappy. And so clearly happiness has everything to do with your mindset and perspective and nothing to do with your physical abilities. Because there was a long time there where I thought, wow, if I can't be physically strong and fit, then I'm not valuable as a man or as a person. What do I have to contribute? But what I found is what's most important about who you are is your character, how you treat people, how you serve others, the love that you can give and receive. That's what matters in this life. And it's easy to get caught up in how you look, how high you can jump, or how cool you look doing this or that. But really life is about just loving and serving others. And if you can do that and focus on that, you're going to live a good life. But you got to work for it. It's not handed to you. It's something that each and one of us has to just work on every day to just take care of ourselves, take care of our minds and bodies. And I really have learned that since my injury.
That was the story of Chris Norton, motivational speaker, author, husband, and father. Chris's incredible journey is documented in the movie 7 Yards, currently available on Netflix in Australia. And a special thanks to Fotolanthropy for the use of audio from the documentary within this episode. If you wanted to throw some sunny positivity into your social media feed, follow Chris on Instagram at Chris A. Norton 16, and those details are also in the show notes. You can also read more about Chris's work on chrisnorton.org, including that of the Chris Norton Foundation, which aims to bring rehab equipment and therapies to those who need it. If you or someone you know has a story of hope to share and you'd like to be interviewed for the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. You can leave a comment on the Finding Hope page at hopepodcasts.com.au. If you liked this episode, be sure to subscribe to get future episodes in your feed. And if you'd like to give a rate or review, that would be so appreciated. It helps other people find the podcast, especially in these first few weeks. Next episode, we'll be meeting a beautiful mother of 4 who delivered her 4th baby at 26 weeks gestation. Her heartbreaking but beautiful story is one that you won't want to miss. I'm Georgia, and thank you for listening to this episode of Finding Hope. I'll leave you with this Bible verse, Chris and Emily Norton's favourite. Above all else, love each other deeply. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8. Catch you next time.
This is a Hope 1032 production. Thanks for listening.